Now this is looking like it's going to be just another one of the unpredictable days in my life. And I kind of like it that way, to be honest. I hate the idea that you would know ahead of time what every day would look like. I call it Groundhog Day. But now, we had planned out a day. Today was going to be a riding day. It started off being a riding day. And then we got a call from our one of our doctors that Karen had her appointment changed. But that is going to give me about 2 hours this morning. So I thought what I'd do is work on Vlad's Bimota parts. And I've got several little projects in the next couple days. So getting his Bimota parts. He picked up the tail section of the BMW yesterday. He'll be back riding the BMW this weekend. And we'll try to get that Bimota done. And I've got several little things to do on this. Still waiting for that muffler, but the tracking says it's going to be here today or tomorrow. Which means it'll be here next week. Now I know this is hard to believe, but our neighbor, unfortunately, we put some of this on video a couple days ago. He's taken down every tree in his yard. The guy is still over there. This is like 4 days later. The fish are even getting a headache from that grinder. Anyway, let's go see how that Bimota part is drying up. So if you want to have a good day in the shop, and I hope we do have a good day, you've got to start out with an extra strong cup of Bimota coffee. Now, if for some reason I forget to feed my birds, they poop on my car. And if I feed them, they poop on my car. It's like the government raising taxes. And if I buy them nice fresh seeds, they poop on my car. I don't get it. So this is where this Bimota part is right now. And I just wanted to back this up a little bit. This is a part that fits Vlad's Bimota. We have repaired it several times. We have reinforced all of the places where it attaches, and that's been relatively successful. However, the bottom piece cracked and broke. It broke where the aluminum joins the fiberglass, or it isn't fiberglass, it's plastic. We did an extensive repair up here with structural resin. That looks like it worked out good. That part of it's fine. We did the touch-up. This is ready for a quick buff out on the bottom. Now, and the bottom isn't really the critical part. This is the critical part of this whole job that's taken a lot of time. And I wanted to share this because it's something John POTHIER suggested we try. And John, of course, has a restored 62 Corvette. It worked on stone chips. It worked on my FZR. I have a chip in the FZR that I've repaired this way just to see if it would work. It did work. Here's the problem. It's labor intensive because you can't do it all in one day. Here's what happens. If you take, we have a ditch. Picture a little ditch where the crack in the part is. If I take that ditch and I just fill it with clear, you're still gonna see it. So what John suggested he put enough black in his case it's red. I'm not so sure this would work as well on metallics, but it worked on the yellow perfectly. I have a feeling it's going to work on the black too. So, and everybody I know that has custom cars has stone chips. Yeah, even if you put those things around the front that make it look like it's in a garbage bag, that it's still a problem. Even my R1, where the front wheel goes up into the fairing, that thing just chips. The wheel is only an inch away, so, and it's throwing stones up and everything. So anyway, all of that aside, this is good quality information. I think it would work for anybody. So what I wanted to do is do a real world test. This is a real world test. What happens here, and I may as well explain this, because Vlad and I, when he was here picking up the part, we discussed this. Here's what happens. You bolt this part in place. Usually there's 3 or 4 bolts. Then the 2 bottom ones don't exactly line up. So you go, and you bend it, and it cracks. Well, the problem with any bike, it doesn't matter what. If these holes don't line up and you put that part under stress, if you pull on it or push on it or whatever, it's better. A better solution is if you get the part bolted, the parts that you see, and now the parts you don't see, just elongate the holes, I mean, within reason. But you don't want to put these in, especially plastic. Fiberglass seems to take a pounding a little bit better than, and this plastic, I don't know.
maybe it's a low quality plastic, maybe it's old, and I know down here it's subject to heat, or else why would they put all these heat protective things? So when plastic has to go through a lot of heat cycles, heat, cold, it gets brittle, number one, and that's why it's part cracked. Anyway, here's what we want to share on this video. If we're going to be very lucky, I think we are. I'm always optimistic about these kind of things. I want to take this part, and what I've done, the ditch that's there, I sanded around it with some 2500 paper, and then I mixed up just a little black with the clear and laid that in for, I think, 3 or 4 days in a row. I mixed up a little batch, and then I put thin layers. Why can't you put it all on? Just put it in nice and thick. Because what happens is then it dries soft. Here's an example if you want to know it. Take the clear that's left in the bottom of the jar when you're done working and let it dry when it's 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch thick, and then poke it with your finger. You'll see it dries to a rubbery consistency. When it dries thin, it'll dry glass hard. If it dries thick, it dries rubbery. That's one of the characteristics of this kind of modern paint. So the next step on this, and I'm going to have a good cup of coffee because this is going to be labor intensive, meaning it's going to take a lot of time. I want to block sand this with 2500 sandpaper very, very carefully, very carefully. And then I want to, if I still need more clear in there, now it's black, so I could just put a drop of clear. But I think I have it built up high enough. But again, we won't know until I actually do this. But this is an experiment. Then when we're all done, if this does work out, if I don't have to put any more clear in here, I'll pull off all the back masking and we'll clean up all the scratches that are on this part. There's some, obviously, the roads of Brooklyn are mean streets. And I'll run the buffer on the whole part again, and we'll put some of that real good German polish on it, get it as nice as we can. But again, there's a point with these parts that they can be repaired over again, reinforced, have reinforcements on the reinforcements, but eventually you spend so much time and money, you might be better off buying a new part. Vlad knows that. I think he's already scoped out some new parts, but I don't know. But even if he did, you'd want to have these for the spare. So I'm going to really take my time. Now, you won't really see it on the video because it's going to take a lot of time, but I'm going to block sand. I'll try to get some of that on and see just how nice I can make this within a time constraint of, we don't want to exceed the budget and have a $5,000 part here either. So let's see how this plays out, but always start with an extra cup of coffee. Now, one of the things I don't know if I have enough material down in the ditch, because I wouldn't want to sand down flat and go through this and have even a bigger touch-up area. So I want to be very careful. What I'm using is Mirka 2500 grit sandpaper and a hard block. I want to just level this off as much as I can. And this is a really delicate thing. You would never want to sand this by hand because you'll just make a mess. It's got to be done with a hard block. And I'm just going to try to bridge that. I'm going to do it very, very carefully, like you would do any kind of precision work. And one of the whole tricks to doing any of this kind of work is, if you can't fix it instantly, don't get panicky and go grab a thing of 80 grit sandpaper or something. This is going to take time. I'm obviously not going to let the camera run for the whole time. It might be boring the way it is. I don't know. But getting around here, if I can get this, it's 2500 grit because I don't, and that's, see, if I put 400 grit on this, it would go right away. It would go in 10 minutes. But the problem that's going to happen then is, then I got to get the sanding scratches out. Now this looks like, and here's another tip. See, these are all good information, things you can pick up off a video like this. This paint has to dry. You can't do this and an hour later do it. It's better if it dries an extra day. Now, my golden rule from being an old school guy, just being an old guy basically, is you always let paint dry overnight before you do anything to it. Modern paints, yeah, and if you have a body shop and you can force dry it with heat lamps, and yeah, people send me emails and tell me that I don't know what I'm doing, and maybe I don't, but in the end, I always have some decent results anyway. That's in the eye of the beholder all the time. And the good news is, when it's a part like this that I know I can save a part that's not going to be easy to buy off the shelf, or cheap, I really feel a sense of accomplishment. Now see, because I'm doing this, I'm going to move the cutting edge out to the next part of the sandpaper. And my initial feeling is maybe I'm going to need 1 or 2 more coats on this before I can actually hit this with a buffer. But I'm really not going to know until I grind away at it. And again, it just takes time. And you want to always use your finger, not your eye. Your finger doesn't lie. And we'll see if we can get this 90% out. I'm thinking 90% is about the limit without getting too cute. And the purpose is we don't want to, in a perfect world, I don't want to have to sand the whole part down and re-clear it and then rebuff it and let it sit for another couple of weeks. Well, you know, then the thing gets over budget. Now, I want to show this up close. This is how much we've gotten off let me get this dry again, so far. Okay, now if you look at any other videos on YouTube like Ammo NYC where he touches up things like this, and of course he's a professional, so we want to take our hat off to him and thank him for sharing all that information. But this is kind of it's still deep there. I'm not sure about that. I'm going to work on that a little bit more, but the objective would be the minute I see I don't have a ditch or minimize it, I'm done. I don't want to go down into the paint. I got to be real careful here. So what has happened is because these parts, that crack is so deep, and of course the parts, these are been crashed before, been broken here before. This is a second repair on this exact area. So what's happened is to get it level and flat, that I can go put my finger like that, I've had to go down, and we're down into the plastic. So now what I want to do, and I'll do this is kind of a little experiment anyway. I'm going to mix up a little bit of clear with the black in it. And what I'm going to try to do is just airbrush these little areas in here. And then I'll have to put that outside to dry at least an hour and see if I could blend it in. Not sure I'm going to be able to do it that way, but because if this were a stone chip, we'd just be filling it. But this is a crack, and the parts are, because they've been repaired, again, multiple times, this is going to be a little bit of extra work. Okay, so I re-back masked this. This is going to require, by doing it with the airbrush, I'm hoping I'll get a nicer blend on that. But again, we're still in experimental material here. So what we're going to do, we're going to mix up probably an ounce or so is all we need. We're going to have to do it carefully and put in a little bit of the black, just enough to make it opaque. Now step 1 is going to be just the area I need to make black again. I'm going to just put the tiniest amount of straight black right over it so it covers. It'll mean I need less total material. Then I have mixed up a batch of, and it's exactly 4 parts of clear, 1 part of hardener, and 1 part of black, and that will be the final overcoat. So this will be another experiment. Boy, this is turning out to be the experimental part of the day. Okay, gun is working great. Now all that's left is that little area where the plastic's coming up, just get just enough black that it's black. Then we'll convert over to the part with the clear and try to get on 2 or 3 coats, and then we'll get hopefully at the end of this job, get the final blend in. Now that's all it's going to take of this material. Now I'm going to switch the material in the gun, let that dry for 10-15 minutes, and go over it with the material that has the clear in it. Alright, it's dried for 15 minutes. One thing in our favor, it hasn't started raining or gotten too cloudy yet. He did predict some rain maybe today. But we get the clear on this, this will be a great day. Now it'll be interesting to see if this material lays down the same as if it was just straight clear. I'm going to give this 20 minutes, get a second coat on, 20 minutes, third coat, 3 coats. Now I can actually see where that ditch is coming through to clear. And I don't know if the other part, the black with the clear, if it's going to be a perfect blend. These are all things yet to be proven. But this certainly is looking better than it was. Okay, because this is a really deep ditch, this is going to require, I can see, maybe even a couple extra coats of clear. So I'm just going to be patient. We have the whole day to work on this now to just let each coat dry 20 minutes apart. And actually, the way this is playing out, what I decided to do is get a couple extra coats of clear on this, because I'm going to need a lot of material to do that blend. And there's no point trying to finish it today. We have other things to do here at the Hacienda. So I got all the clear on this today. This really is going to be a whole nother day to do that blend. That'll be on a future video, and of course rebuffing out the part. Now, the way this all played out today, I didn't know how it was going to play out. It looks like the clear with the black is going to be a perfect blend. What I didn't anticipate is that ditch was a lot deeper than I thought it was. And I may have to repeat the process over and over again of putting clear on. Now I'll try, this is going to have to sit at least 1 or 2 days. This has to dry. If you start playing with this now, you do nothing but make a mess. Unless maybe you force dried it with heat. I don't like to do that. So since we're at a point here today, we spent the whole day on this. And it worked out that even if I left it just the way it is and did the blend on it, I think it'd be fine. But I know I can get the last little essence of that crack out just by being patient now. And that's the whole trick of this job, is when we're done, I'll spend the whole afternoon, a whole day, rebuffing this out, because there are some stone little scratches and things in this. Brooklyn Roads, I call it. Anyway, so that looks like one good way, other than buffing it out, which will be on a separate video. One good way I think you can repair a stone chip or a crack. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching. And what is this going to be, an amusement park ride? A Lego amusement park ride?